Hi guys, Dave here with a new guitar lesson for you. Today we're going to look at the Red Hot Chili Peppers song Snow Hey-O. This one's a special request from a good friend of mine, so Greg, this one's for you, mate. It's going to be quite challenging. There's some quite tricky guitar parts on this one, so we're going to take our time, and as I go through the parts I'll give you any kind of little tips to maybe make it a little bit easier to execute. Okay, let's go in for a close-up. So let's start with the main riff. So chord wise, it's just going G sharp minor, E, B, then F sharp. But the shapes we're playing are a lot smaller than that, so we're just holding down 4 on the G, 6 on the D, 6 on the A string. This is for the G sharp minor, and the first 4 notes we're picking strings 5, 4, 3, 4, and we're going to pick down, up, down, up. Now if you've not done this before with alternate picking, it can take a bit of getting used to, because obviously you're playing a new string each time. Commonly known as cross picking this. A lot of bluegrass players use this technique a great deal, and they're the masters at it. So I would recommend, if you've not done it before, spend a bit of time just on those first 4 notes, getting comfortable with the picking motion. Then the second half of the pattern, we're picking 4 on the G with a downstroke, then hammer on 6, pull off back to 4, then we're going to pick down on 6 on the D, and then up on 4 on the G. So again, you could just do this part until you felt comfortable, and then just put the whole thing together. Like so. Now that pattern you're going to use on each chord. So once you get comfortable on one, you can just transfer it to each new one. So the next bit is the E major. So for that I'm playing 4 again on the G, 6 on the D, and 7 on the A string. And it's the same picking as before. And then the same hammer pull off pattern. So, like so. Then we take all of that and we move up 1 set of strings to play the B. So that's 4D this time, 6A and 7 on the top E. So now you're playing strings 6, 5, 4, 5. And now that part of it is now on the 4th string, or on the D string. Hammer pull off 4, 6, 4, 6 on the A, and then 4 on the D. Then we're going to move up to the F sharp chord. This is actually the same shape as the E and the B chords, but what he does a little bit different is the way he holds the chord. So before he used fingers 1, 3 and 4, but this time he does 1, 2 and 3. Now you can still do it the other way with 1, 3 and 4 if you want, but I think I know why he does it this way. once he's come out of the B, his third finger is already kind of on the A string, so it's really just a case of moving it up. I think that's why he does it. It just makes it easier for him to transfer up and play the next shape, the F sharp. So now we're holding down 6 on the G, 8 on the D, and 9 on the A string. So we're playing strings 5, 4, 3, 4. And then the hammer pull off, I think he goes back to his third finger again. So this is now on the G string, 6, 8, 6. And then 8 on the D. And then back to 6 on the G. So if I go through the sequence slowly. You can see how that all flows together, and of course, like leaving fingers on when you can definitely makes the changes a little bit smoother. Okay, now the second half is almost identical. You play the first 3 chords the same way. Now for the F sharp, it's still a kind of an F sharp. It's an F sharp with an A flat, an A sharp in the bass. So we've just done the B. And then the F sharp is going to be this. You're going to bar across the 4th fret on the D and A strings, and then hold down 6th fret on the top E. So you're playing strings 6, 5, 4, 5. And then your little hammer pull off, this is slightly different, I suppose. 4, 6, 4 on the D, and now you're just playing the bar 4 on the A string, 4 on the D. So it's a very slightly different pattern to all the others. Whereas normally you'd have that third finger involved. For that one. So I'll just play the second half. There you go. So that is the main riff. For the bridge, this is interesting because instead of playing regular chords, he's playing basically what we call tenths, and he's muting off the strings in between. So the first one, which is kind of replacing an E major chord, but all he's really holding down is 9 on the B and 7 on the A string, but everything else has to be muted. So the tip of the index finger is touching the top string to stop that from ringing. The underneath, actually I find that the underneath of the little finger and the underneath of the index finger is choking off the first string, and also to a point that the underneath of the index finger is helping to choke off the D string, but he's also using fingers 2 and 3 to help mute those 2 strings in between. So that's the trick, is just getting it holding the chord just right so that you're only hearing those two strings, and it takes a bit of getting used to. I think he uses, I think string gauge wise he's on 10s, or just maybe a little bit heavier than what I've got on here. It also helps if you've got a slightly higher action on the guitar. It's probably one of the only times when you would recommend that, but it actually makes muting open strings a lot easier. Anyway, it is possible on a regular guitar, so that's what you should get. It's just those two strings, and everything else, like I say, is being muted off. And then basically we're just strumming semiquavers or 16th notes constantly. So 4 beats in the bar, so you're going to get 4 groups of 4, and we're just going down, up on each beat. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... Then he carries on for another 3 beats in the next bar with that. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a... And then on the 4th beat, he just moves that shape up 2 frets for the F sharp. Just for 1 beat. And then the shape's going to get smaller. This is a G sharp minor, and this is probably the worst one to mute off. So now you're just holding down 12 on the B and 11 on the A. And I think the challenge I found was that I used to get a lot of harmonic noise off the 3rd string there. So yeah, so it takes a bit of getting that one muted off just the way you want it to. So I find that's the hardest one to mute off properly. Anyways, once we're up there, a whole bar of that, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and then we carry on into the next bar, another 3 beats, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and then we go down to that F sharp shape just for 1 beat, and then back down to the E shape for 2 complete bars. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's probably worth mentioning actually, as he gets towards the next section, he starts to kind of strum a little bit harder, building it up to the alternative chorus that you're going to play next. And then he starts digging in more. So yeah, a little bit of dynamics in that strumming as you get towards the end. Okay, that's the bridge section. Now the final bit is, I'm calling this a chorus. I know they use that main riff for the chorus, but this is like the other one, if you like, the other section. So whatever you want to call it. And for this, we've got 3 shapes. We've got a B major, an F sharp major, and a C sharp minor add 9. And this is the way he tends to play it. You don't have to do it this way, but this is the way I see him do it. So for the B major, this kind of more Hendrixy, I suppose, way of doing things. So you're barring across strings 1 and 2 at fret 7. Second finger's taking care of the 8th fret on the G string, and then you're playing 9 on the D string, and then the thumb wraps over the top and plays 7 on the E string. And it tends to mute off the A string. There's 2 ways it can be muted off actually. The thumb or the tip of the 3rd finger, that can also serve as a mute. And you just strum that in 16th notes for a whole bar. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, like so. Then he moves up to an F sharp major chord, and So I'm playing 9 on the A, and then I'm barring with my third finger at the 11th fret on the D, G and B strings. The tip of the finger is muting off the top string, and the bar is lifting very slightly just to mute off the E string, and you strum that for a whole bar. And then for the final 2 bars, you're playing a C minor add 9. So for that, little finger is playing fret 11. I'm barring across the 9th fret on the B and G strings. Then I'm holding down 11 on the D string there, and that is also muting off the A string. And then the thumb comes over the top and plays 9 on the E. And that's 2 bars of that. So it's a really simple rhythm, but trying to keep it nice and even and smooth between the changes is the challenging bit, I suppose. Probably something that's worth mentioning about that actually is that don't feel like you've got to hold the chord right to the very end. You typically find that when you transcribe these parts, usually the last 1 or 2 strums are muted, and it's usually just as a result of them moving from shape to shape. So, you know, if I'm coming out of, like, if I played like the last beat of the B chord, you know, the first 2 would probably be strummed, and then you'd probably get a couple of scratches while you're moving into the next one. But because it happens so quickly, and in the mix of the track and everything else, you wouldn't notice it. Well, it wouldn't be that noticeable anyway. So there I was just basically the last 2 strums on each chord was being muted off as I moved from one to the other. So hopefully that'll make that part a little bit easier to get. Also, I'd say if you want to make this a little bit simpler as far as playing the chords, don't feel like you've got to absolutely play with the thumb over the top. If you just wanted to play like the top first 4 strings on the B, I think that would work just as well. F sharp's not too bad, and with the C sharp minor add 9, again you could just play that smaller shape without the thumb and it would still work perfectly well within the song. Okay, other than the parts, I'll talk a little bit about the sound. This is what I think he's doing. He famously uses strats for most of the things that he does with the Chili Peppers. Pretty sure he's using the neck pickup when he's playing this. Live he tends to use Marshall, so I've got it on a fairly clean Marshall sound. There is a little bit of breakup, so which is really nice when you set the amp like that, because it has a nice compressing quality when you're playing soft. But when you're digging in, you just get that little bit of breakup. Just a little bit. So it's clean, but it's not super clean. Other than that, something else I read was that he uses quite light picks, in particular Dunlops, the orange ones that are 0.6 of a mil thick, which is probably lighter than what most people use. But again, you know, if you're trying to get close to that sound, pick picks do make a difference. So I think he said he feels like he's got more control over the dynamic range when he's using a softer pick. So, you know, these are little insights that maybe that will help you get closer to his sound, and maybe even make it easier to perform as well. Certainly I like using thinner picks if I'm strumming acoustic guitars. It certainly makes that a little bit easier to strum with a lighter touch for sure. So yeah, maybe experiment with that if you've never done that before. Okay guys, I think that's the end of the lesson. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you get a lot from it, and I will see you for one again in the near future. Take care.